Facebook Live. Hopefully, you are having an amazing Friday afternoon. Not sure what you're doing to wrap up the last few hours of your work week, depending on where you're tuning in from. For those of you who it's early morning, possibly down in Australia, hope you're having an amazing, I believe it's Saturday morning there. As everyone tunes in and I see the numbers start populating here, love to know 3 things that you are grateful for this afternoon. Tonight, or this afternoon, we're going to be talking about internal and external rewards. And it's really an amazing situation and such a simple thing to think about that so many people honestly just don't pay attention to when they're making some important decisions in their life. And I've had a few friends I've talked to about this recently, and also my wife and I were chatting about it, and I want to share with you. Anyways, as those numbers populate, hello, welcome. Love to know where you're from, where you're tuning in from. Also love to know 3 things that you are currently grateful for. The reason I always start with gratitude is my belief is, even on a Friday afternoon, it's good to fill up with some gratitude and think about the stuff that you're most grateful for to bring yourself to life. Susan, Night Shadows, Breathe, Breath, Love. Suzanne, the night. Where are you tuning in from? Hello, everyone. Welcome. Internal and internal reports. Share that. If you know someone who needs to tune in and listen to this, make sure to share it with them. As everyone else tunes in here, welcome. Love to know 3 things you are grateful for. Also love to know where you're tuning in from. Siobhan, hello from St. Pete, Pennsylvania, Yardley. Nice, very nice. Welcome. I see the number growing there, so welcome everyone. Love to know 3 things you're grateful for as you tune in. And we're going to jump right in. Who's that? Chad, grateful for the failure, health, and love. Awesome. Good to see you. Welcome back. Let's see. Debbie, Chicago, grateful for breathing, crisp air, and friends. David, grateful for my family, my health, and my wife, Susanna. And the trees are reflecting off the lake. That's beautiful. Wonderful. Well, good to see everyone tuning in here. As you populate, love to know 3 things you're grateful for and where you're tuning in from. Now, what we're going to jump into this afternoon to talk about is internal and external rewards. And this is really, really important to think about. Not a whole lot of people do think about this, but when you're sitting down to decide what to focus on or where to put your energy, maybe a career you want to go into, or maybe just what you want to do with your time. One big factor that most people focus on, and this is kind of obvious, but what is the end result or the reward or the outcome you're trying to achieve in going through whatever you're going to go through? Whether you're going to go get a job and you're going to start doing something, trading your hours and energy and life and investing it for some type of reward. So the first thing you want to figure out is, what is the external reward you're trying to accomplish by doing whatever you do? If you're a teacher, if you're a fitness instructor, if you're an investor, a business owner, regardless of what it is that you do, what are the external rewards that you're going after in the process of doing what you're doing? And you want to make sure whatever those external rewards are, and this seems overly simplistic, but it is worth the investment. Meaning, if you're going to invest 40 hours of your life a week into something, what external rewards are you going to need to see in order to say, hey, that's worth it? That's worth putting my life into for this external reward. And if we were to just start there, if you have a pen and paper, you might want to jot down, what are the external rewards that are worth investing my life into something? Now, for most people, the external reward they're looking for in their life is financial means. They're looking for, if I'm going to invest 30, 40, 50 hours or 60 hours of my life into something, here's how much money I want in return from that. Now, I know there's a lot of very heart-centered individuals who tune into these. So if you're watching and you're like, ugh, I don't do it for money, I do it for X. Maybe it's the difference you make in the world. Maybe it's the fun you have. Maybe it's the impact. Maybe it's the, I don't know. It's why you do what you do. But whatever it is that you're up to, the investment you're making, what is the external tangible reward you're looking for in return for that investment you're making? That's step one. Step 2, what is the internal process you're going to be going through in order to get that reward? Now, let's keep it simple. So you're going to invest your life, your hours of who you are into something. Seeing all these come through, I'll answer those in a sec. So you're going to invest your life into something to get to get some result you're going after. Now, if you're going to invest 20 hours of your life to get this result, and you say, hey, 30, 20, 40 hours, 50 hours of my life is worth that result in the long run. I believe putting my life into this is worth that external result. So that's the first factor. So you can check off that box and say it's worth it. What I'm going to invest is worth what I'm going to get back. And I think it's a fair trade of what I'm going to do here. Second, now is the process you're about to go through, meaning what you're going to be doing day in and day out, is the daily process, the internal process of what has to happen every single hour of every single day during that investment, is the internal process worth what you're going to get back? Meaning the time you're going to have to show up, what you're going to have to do during those hours, how much effort it's going to take, how much energy, how much focus, all of these factors, is it worth, again, the external reward? So this is the second box you're going to check. First, is the external reward worth the amount of time or energy or life I'm going to invest into this? The second box you're going to check, is what I'm going to be doing every day worth the reward I'm going to get at the end? And if you use those two factors, honestly, it becomes a very nice filter to filter out so many random things that are going to get thrown your way. My wife and I have been filtering through businesses for sale here in Florida. It's remarkable how many businesses are for sale. And every kind you could imagine. Food restaurants, salons, beauty stuff, car washes, car companies, car lots, all kinds of stuff is for sale. It's crazy. Hey, Rob, how you doing? Joey, good to see you. And then it's amazing, as we're looking through all these things, we had to come up with what's our filter. And our first filter was exactly what I shared with you. What's the external result we're looking to achieve by acquiring this business or going to work for this business, per se? Now, if we're going to acquire this business, what's the external reward we're going to want to see from it? That was our first checkbox. Second checkbox, really simple. What's the internal process we're going to have to go through every day in order to get that reward? Now, is it worth it? And we have to come up with our factors in our lives for us personally to see if it's worth the investment, if it's worth the trade of what we're going to have to do every day and every week to make that result happen. Now, there's a lot more models on this. I usually help our one-on-one clients deal through this in detail and comb down in depth. But if you just start with those two elements, it'll give you a real strong start to at least start to filter what fits and what doesn't in your life. Now, how do most people do it? Most people go out and say, well, what's available? Okay, since that's available, I guess what's the best option? And I guess I'll deal with that one. Hopefully I can get it. and my belief at that point is for whatever my belief is worth on this, you're living life really and truly in reaction at that moment, because you're reacting to whatever life hands you in hopes it's good enough to keep you going. And the truth is, most people look at life that way, and most people deal with, hey, these are the jobs available, so I'm going to just take what I can get and move on it. And my belief, personally, there's nothing wrong with starting there. I certainly have done it in my own life where I looked for what's available, took it, and made the most of it, and really tried to just over-deliver while I was there. But eventually, if you want to free yourself from having to trade your time for whatever it is you're getting back from it, time for money per se, you're going to want to find things to start filtering and looking to them to say, hey, this is worth investing life into, or this is something I can set up and I can put a system in place and I can find the right people to manage it and run it for me so that I don't have to be the one investing my time into. But then you face a different question, and the next question is, well, what then? Then what are you going to invest your time into? If you're, people always say, if I could just make enough money, then my life would be perfect. But then you talk to people who have plenty of money, and they're sitting around going, geez, what do I do now? And so they think it's going to be perfect if they just have enough. They finally get enough, and then they scratch their head and go, now what? And so the next piece, Lewis, thank you very much for that. The next piece you got to think of is, what do you want to invest your life into? Once you've got this whole trade worked out, you've got this thing worked out where you invest your time into something you like and you get your return that's worth it. Once you have enough of that return and it's stacked up over time, you invested it and you have a lifetime income set up, this next category of people has to figure out, what in the world do I want to put my time into? And one thing to look for, which we've mentioned many different times whenever we've had a conversation like this, P.S. If you like what we're talking about so far and you think someone else might want to hear this, make sure to click that share button. And also feel free to comment. I'm going to do my best to answer some questions just at the end here. I do have to go in a little bit to teach our Performance Coach University training tonight to all our students around the world who are learning how to be coaches. But I want to hang out with you guys a little bit longer. So as we're talking about this, the next piece is really, truly, how do you find things that just bring your soul to life? How do you go out and find activities or careers or things that make you feel really passionate, alive, fulfilled from the inside out? And the first is you have to put your criteria together of what things you really, really love and enjoy. Now, if you don't know, you might want to go sample something. You might want to go try different things and go different places and just experiment a little and see what you do and don't like. Try taking a class somewhere. Try teaching a class somewhere. Try learning from somebody. Try guiding someone. Try all kinds of random stuff. And you might cross paths with something you never expected that just blows your mind. And for me, I remember when that happened to me, I had to edit a video. And at first I was like, oh my goodness, this is going to be horrible. And about halfway through editing it, I noticed 3 things happen. And this is a good sign when you found something. One, time disappeared. Meaning, I started editing somewhere in the morning, and all of a sudden I looked up, and it was 5-6 hours later, and I didn't even realize the time had gone by. 2, I disappeared. If you find something where you forget about your own personal needs in the moment, you just disappear into the moment. I had food sitting next to me, and I didn't even touch it for 5 hours, and I didn't even realize it, and I didn't even feel hungry. I was just so focused and so intrigued by the process. And not only did time disappear, but I disappeared. And the third thing is when I was doing that, nothing else seemed to matter. Because, people had asked questions, people passed by, the phone had rang, all kinds of stuff was happening, and nothing seemed urgent enough to pull my attention away from this project I was working on. And so I realized, I'm like, wow, I would have never thought in a million years editing a video would have become a personal passion of mine. But it was very intriguing. It was very insightful. It was very just engaging in that moment. And I became lost in the moment, which is, a sign that where you're in flow, where you're totally connected to the moment. Nothing else matters. You disappear. Time disappears. And in those moments, you feel the most alive and you're the most productive version of yourself. So you might want to keep track of, as you're going through life, as you're connecting with different things, notice the times in which you disappear, time disappears, and nothing else matters. Let's see. Cameron says, how do we suck up the pride we need to swallow to do the things we must do that we may feel are not professionally viable? But if our client found out that we think twice about doing business with us? If you're an entrepreneur doing big business, then you wait tables to make money as an example. Sure. So you're someone who's trying to build the foundation. Well, the very first thought there, I'm not a financial advisor, but if I was, my thought would be set up a foundation first. And when you set up the foundation to be able to have the freedom to take that leap, the very first step, honestly, is you have to suck it up and go to work. And I don't know a single, unless you inherit a bunch of money or get a trust fund or something, I don't know anybody who doesn't have to go to work in the beginning and really, truly amass the base foundation that you can then take a launch off of or leap off of to then get everything else going. There's some people who start when they have very, very, very little, meaning you start something in your dorm room or you start something in your parents' house and it kicks off and you don't have to go do the grunt work to get the foundational base. But for most people, you go take 2-3 jobs and you work your face off. I remember when I started my business, I had 3 jobs. I was stuffing boxes in a warehouse. I was coaching people on behalf of a large organization. And I was also doing inside sales, phone sales, calling to make extra money in between the other 2 jobs. And I built a business. I started using the skills that I had been using for 6 years prior in the company before. I took those skills, I applied them, I started my own business around it, and it did very well. In the first 6 months, we crossed 6 figures, and I was loving every moment of it. Going back to what we talked about in the beginning, I loved the process of coaching, meaning from the beginning of the call to the end of the call and every moment in between, I loved it. It was the greatest thing I could imagine doing. And it's one of those things that I get done doing and I kind of scratch my head and go, wow, I get paid for this? That's cool. That's amazing. Same thing with creating, videos like this or our trainings we do on JRC TV. I was talking to my wife the other day and we were laughing. I was like, wow, this is really cool. We found a way to make a living by creating trainings and sending them out to the world, and people value them enough that it generates business for us. That's incredible. It became a gift. Let's see, Thomas. So Cam, just to answer your question, Cameron, in the beginning, you got to suck it up. Where you work those 3 jobs and you build it up. And when I started my coaching business online, I had 3 jobs, and I work all day long and come home after work, and at night I'd build the business, and then I would set up my coaching calls in between work, and I hustled and I made it work. And my very first client was a law firm in London, and we were working with their team on time management skills, and we were successfully able to boost their time management skills, and they started referring us out to other people, and our business grew very quickly based on results. We really delivered. Thomas says, how do you build in structure to measure and practice towards the goals? Health, wealth, spiritual, fundamental life peak when you're working to live your dream life. So in the beginning, here's what's tricky. When you have multiple jobs and you're building a business and you have a family and you're trying to have a life or a community around you, a big factor becomes how in the world do you fit all this stuff in? And I don't believe in this philosophy everywhere, but in that specific moment, that piece of life that exists there, one big factor you may want to think of is minimum investment, maximum return. Meaning if you look at the major categories of your life, your health, your emotions, your family, your business, your finances, you're going to pick one of those categories that's going to become the main focus of life. And how do you know what the main focus is? We worked with our coaches on understanding this for our future clients that they're going to work with in Performance Coach University. But let's say you're 15, 16 years old. What's the major focus of life? Usually yourself. Then work, then maybe community. That's just, 15, 16-year-old kids. They're focused on themselves, their needs, their wants, their desires. Now, if you're a 28-year-old person, a 30-year-old person, 32-year-old person, what's your major focus in life? Work. For most people, it's work, 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 work. Then family or community, or maybe if they're single, themselves, then little tiny family community. Now, eventually, when you work, you spend the rest of your time on yourself, working out and being healthy and having fun, you start to feel lonely. So usually then it transitions right around 30 to work, then community or family or relationship, then this little tiny piece left over called yourself. And that's when people lose themselves because they have no time to take care of themselves. So in those moments, now that transitionary step happens and it rebalances itself out at different stages and moments of life. But in that moment, the God honest truth is when it's all work and then a little bit called relationship and then a tiny bit speck called yourself, usually what you do is minimum investment, maximum return. So what's the minimum amount of working out I can do every day to get the maximum return on my health and energy? Meaning if I can get an hour a day of working out or 20 minutes a day of real solid focused health, fitness focused, heart rate up, like real intense training for 20 minutes, is that enough to keep me physically, mentally, emotionally at my prime? If it is, do it. If it takes an hour, do it. But what's the minimum investment in my health? Second, emotions. How much time, effort, energy, focus do I have to put in building my emotional strength so that I have what it takes to get through the most difficult moments of my life at this stage of my life? And all kinds of crazy stuff happens, but how much of an investment do you need to make sure you get the maximum return emotionally? And you see where I'm going with this. Keep going down the majors of life. If you're not familiar with the majors, buy a book. Live It, Achieve Success by Living with Purpose. Chapters 2 and 3 talk about all the majors. So if you think about that, what's the minimum investment, maximum return at that moment of life? When I was there, I remember I looked at all of the major categories of life, and I set it up so that when I woke up at 5:30 in the morning, I would go out the door, and I'd prep, get breakfast, all that stuff. By 6 a.m., I was out running, and I would do this thing I learned from my dad called the Hour of Power, and which is a way to mentally, emotionally, and physically bring yourself to life. And so I'd go for a walk, and I'd do some breathing to stimulate my lymph system and cleanse my body. You have 4 times the amount of lymph in your body. Then you do blood challenge. Lymph doesn't have a pump. The only way you activate your lymph, which cleanses your blood and cleanses your body, is by deep breathing and movement. So I'd start by moving and breathing. I'd go through gratitude. I'd fill up my emotions. So gratitude, visualization, mental rehearsal, incantations, affirmations. I think about my vision for my future. I empower myself by repeating these phrases again and again. And I built this amazing morning routine. And then I'd go for like a 45-minute run after the first 15 minutes of just pumping myself up and really solidifying who I was. And the combination is within the first hour of the day, so minimum investment, maximum return, within the first hour of the day, I was able to cross off physical training, emotional training, spiritual training, if you want to go there, I did. Also, connection with myself and feeling that connected in community. I was single at the time, so it was community and building that connection with life and myself. So I was able to cross off a big chunk of these major categories of life, all within this first so many minutes of the day there. Now I had the whole rest of the day to focus on work and then relationships and finances. So I got more than half of it done first thing in the morning. And if you can do that, all of a sudden, minimum investment, maximum return, you spend 1 hour of your day and you get to cross off half of all major focuses of life, then spend the rest of the day focused on the rest of them. Pretty good trade in my eyes at that stage of life. Martin, good to know that it is great. Thomas, but I think you also said, how do you structure and measure? So how we measure, we did another one of these episodes on measuring. We use a whole bunch of apps and tracking mechanisms, depending on what you're measuring. If you're measuring your time all throughout the day, there's an app called A, as in Alpha, Tracker Pro. And what it allows you to do is track minute by minute how you're using your time all day long. Now, it is manual, so you do have to hit and switch activities when you switch activities, but it'll give you a report at the end of the day and tell you, hey, you spent 20 minutes doing this, 30 minutes doing this, 40 minutes doing this, an hour and a half doing this, 2 hours doing this, and now at the end of the day, you can recap and go, wow, okay, this is pretty good, but I can do better tomorrow. I can cut 20 minutes here, 10 minutes here, 7 minutes here, and all of a sudden, bam, you can just nail down exactly how you're going to perform better tomorrow. And we usually do that with our clients who are trying to perform at their peak and have lots of stuff going on. We have them measure and track where they're at, and then we have them improve strategically week to week and day to day. The other thing we measure, so if you're measuring, if you want to perform at your best, your health has to be going on. And so we believe in tracking your movement. Most people, and I was working out, lifting weights, I was doing my morning hour power, I was going to yoga, so I thought I was supremely healthy. I put one of these bracelets on that tracks your movement, and I found out the average person to stay healthy is supposed to do 10,000 steps a day. After doing yoga and my hour of power, and we're lifting weights, and working all day, I found out I was only moving about 4,500 steps a day. I was like, oh, that's horrific. I'm not even like the average person, and I don't ever want to be average. I want to be extraordinary. So that scared me. So all of a sudden I put this bracelet on, and it gave me feedback telling me how healthy I thought I wasn't anywhere close. So all of a sudden it gave me that instant feedback to say, hey, I need to get moving. So that's why we got this little thing back here, which is a treadmill desk, which means I can jump up there and throw a laptop up top. And while I'm up there, I can be working and talking and moving and getting my steps in all day long while I'm communicating with our clients or while I'm working on some business stuff. So I needed to figure out how do I get moving all throughout the day. And that's a great way to track steps, sleep. Some of them track nutrition. So there's all kinds of stuff you can track and measure there. Let's see. Stuart, nice to see you. Can you see my purpose board and vision board? Yes, 1 minute. Martin, but what about keeping a balance of all this throughout the day instead of doing it all at the beginning? Spirituality and presence, mindfulness, and is in everything. It shouldn't be a focus for an hour. What do you think? So everyone's different. So if you're, this is another thing we did in Performance Coach University. There's a wonderful book called Spiral Dynamics. It's how they ended apartheid in South Africa, because they started to figure out, instead of saying this person's a spiritual person and that person's a non-spiritual person and this one knows this and this one knows that, what they did is they said, listen, there's different levels of understanding or consciousness that exist. And consciousness, they related to how much a person cares. And they said the more they care, the more conscious they are. The less they care, the less conscious they are. And what they realized is there's all these different levels. And Martin, it sounds as if you'd be coming from a level, I think it was 6 on this scale. And a level 6 on the scale is a very conscious, awake, alive level. It's like Canadians, the Netherlands. It's a very caring level that believes all of us are equal and everyone deserves the same beauty and magnificence in life. If you drop one level below that, which most people who watch this are level 5, meaning they're a striver, driver, achiever. There are people out there to make stuff happen. Life is not fair. There is hierarchy. You're either better or worse, and you earn your way to the top. And there is a top. It's not equal. You earn your way to the top, and those at the top deserve it because they made their way there. And you can't just sit around and do nothing and expect to be at the top in life. It doesn't work that way. So what's interesting, most people who watch this are orange, and they have a little bit of green in their heart, only because that's a lot of what I am, and I attract similar people. So the oranges out there will go, yeah, we're all equal if you work hard and do the work. The greens, it's called spiral dynamics. If you Google spiral dynamics, you'll see tons of information on it. But Martin, it sounds like where you're at, you're more of a green, which you have that natural life element about you. And what happens, Kevin, good evening, nice to see you. What happens is, as a green, you believe we should have this natural spiritual element about us at all times. We should all be connected. We should all be grounded. Being grounded and connected and present is more important than success as a green. All of us being equal and being cared for and loved and cherished is more important than just more money, more money, more money. But the orange would say, okay, conscious man, get the hell out of the way. I need to go make shit happen. So you're right. Where does that come into play? If you're at that level of consciousness, you would look and approach things radically different. I was obviously a bright orange when I was making this happen, and most people are oranges who watch this. So they would say, listen, if I can get an hour in, maximize that, minimum investment, maximum return, and give the rest of the day to work, done. Now, if you're a green and you're all about community and people and everything else needs to be equal and the same, then no, that won't work for you. You're going to need to interweave your thoughts. Now, greens are not worried about performance. They're not trying to out-achieve everyone else and everything else. They're just trying to make the most of life and enjoy it and make sure everyone sees how beautiful and amazing it is. So it's a whole different approach there. Now, where most people run into trouble is when they have a green heart and an orange head. And their head says, shut up, heart, we're supposed to work. And the heart goes, no, we're supposed to relax and enjoy it. And all day long, their head and their heart are constantly battling. Now, how do you overcome that? Draw a line in the sand and say, listen, between this hour and this hour, I'm an orange. I'm all about achievement, hierarchy, getting to the top, and making my way to success no matter what. Now, before this hour and after this hour, I'm all green. Caring, loving, taking care of people, really enjoying making a difference in the world. We're all equal. We're all awesome. And I'm going to sit back and enjoy myself and just love on everybody and myself as well during these hours. But during this chunk of time of the week, all orange. That's totally me. Orange in my mind, green in my heart. So I'm guessing from time to time you have a conflict of what you think you should be doing every day. Because part of you feels like work, 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 work. And part of you feels like, no, relax, enjoy it. Be nice, be one with everybody. And so this battle that goes on inside usually causes you to be less effective than you could be, versus if you were to draw lines in the sand and say, hey, orange here, green here, done, we got it. Now at that point, you become incredibly effective. Now what's interesting, if you read the book, there are more levels, and there's a couple levels up, which is an integrated level, where you figure out, wow, all of a sudden all these levels are useful, and I know when, where, and how to apply every single level. And there's 8 levels altogether, so we talked about 2. There's other levels that are all about the rules. There's a system, there's a structure, there's an order. If you follow it, you succeed and you win. If you don't, you're out, you lose. There's another one that's all about my way or the highway. And if you don't do it my way, I will break shut and show you, force you to. And so there's many other levels that exist, but it's understanding where your strength is, understanding where you need to grow, and understanding how to effectively maximize your strength. So if you're stuck between that green and orange, or that's 5 and 6, you need to draw some lines and say, hey, here's where I'll be my 5, here's where I'll be my 6. I do have to get going to prep for our training. Glad to hear I was spot on. Let's see. Kevin, good evening. Martin, you got the name of the book. Stuart, you want to see our vision boards up here? Let me flip these around. This is what's going on up here on my vision boards. We got some health stuff. We got some emotional stuff. We got some relationship stuff down there. We got some goals of where we want to go, things we want to accomplish. This is my RPM for the week, our plan and outcomes of everything we want to achieve. Hopefully that's helpful. We have another mic up here and another mic over here that we use with broadcasting for our podcast. Hopefully you dig that. Martin, thanks. We'll get in touch soon, I hope. Our paths will cross. Awesome. Let's see. Cameron, so looking forward to rewatching this. Awesome. If you're powerful, Stuart, if you like this and if you think what you're seeing is useful, please click the share button and make sure other people hear about this and see this. We try to put out some great content to pass that on. See if I missed anything here. Martin. All this is looking good. Check out my grateful statement. Absolutely. Kevin, can we chat on Skype? Not tonight. We are full, and tomorrow we're filming, and Sunday we have a meeting, possibly later next week. I saw your message that came through, Kevin. We're literally just backed. Steven, good stuff. Thank you. If you love this, if you joined in, if you thought this was useful, please hit that share button, spread this around, tag people in it, and let them know they need to come watch. Martin, when's the next time you're live? I try to do live once a day. I haven't found when the perfect time is. Normally we go work out early in the morning, and then on our walk back from the gym, we'll pop on for 5 or 10 minutes and say hello. So I haven't timed it yet, but when we find a good time, we'll try to keep consistent. Just share it. Thank you for that. Really good. Awesome. Dennis, thank you so much. Kevin, awesome. Excited to hear about it. We're just definitely just slammed in the schedule, so as soon as we can fit that conversation in, we'll make it happen. Anyways, have a wonderful night, everyone. I'm going to go teach our Performance Coach University program for all of our new coaches who are excited to come on board. And I will see y'all tomorrow. Hope you have a great day. Bye.